What's up, everybody? All in there? Can't see what's going on, but we're going to start this thing, I guess, in a few seconds. You're live. All right. Glad to see everybody there. Thanks for coming. I can't see anybody but the staff, but I think we're about to start right now. I guess I'm live. Today, we're going to do some fun stuff. I'm basically going to let you guys run with this whole thing. The way I like to do this type of thing is let you guys come up with the things that you want to know from me. And basically what that means is, like, I don't think you should take this opportunity to ask me something that you could find anywhere else on the internet. Basic theory type of things, basic guitar stuff. Hopefully you can ask me things that only I can answer in my own demented way, and you can get something interesting out of this. I mean, there's a lot of guys, especially within this guitar.com thing, that could give you a really, really good explanation of a lot of very normal things that you need to know as a guitarist. But I think I'd be more useful if you could ask me things that I could answer in such a way that only I could answer. Does that make sense? Anyway, I'm going to play a couple songs, and then we'll just be free to rock this thing with Q&A, all right? So the first song I'm going to play is a song called For a Friend, and this is from my Wall of Sound album, and I like to consider all of you my friends. So I'll be playing that for everybody here joining us today. And after that, I'm going to be playing a song called Gurenge, which is the theme from the Kimetsu no Yaiba series, which many of you people into Japan stuff might know. Just going to play those two songs. Maybe I'll play more stuff later. Just want to make sure I get those in, because sometimes the questions just go on forever. So I'm going to play these two songs now. Hope you enjoy them. And if you have any questions about these songs or anything that I've done in these songs, I can break those things down and hopefully give you something interesting. All right. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you enjoy this, and we'll all have a good time. All right. Yes. Right. All right, all right, all right. All right, I see tons of questions in here. Great. All right. A lot of compliments. Thank you very much. Not a lot of questions yet, actually. Let me see. Okay, from Patrick. Hi, Marty. Would like to know how you interpret melodies like the vocal melodies in Gurenge, which I just played. By the way, thanks for the music. Thanks for your question, Patrick. The way I interpret melodies is try to be like a vocalist, I guess. I mean, the main, for example, the beginning melody is something like this. See the difference? The melody is this. But I go. I'll try to like bend it so it doesn't sound like a guitar playing so much. The actual melody would be something like this. But I might go. So I'll do like kind of bends in between where the melody could be played on a guitar normally. I'll do a bend instead. So what normally you might go, I would go. Does this make sense? It's kind of weird to like talk without the answers coming back, but if you were to do that, it sounds a little bit more vocal-like. So if you get in the habit of trying to interpret melodies that are not the same as your typical guitar fingerings, then you kind of open yourself up to more opportunities to do interesting things. What is your approach to harmonizing? This is from, sorry, I can't read your name. I'm so sorry. You schedule. So maybe it's from Japan. What is your approach to harmonizing guitar lines? How do you get that vocal nasal sound? The main theme of Battle Scars. Well, let's talk about harmonies for a minute. I have kind of a phrase that I invented. If the line is not interesting, harmonize it. So if the line is interesting, you should try not to harmonize it because you want the melodies to be heard. It's like if you're an opera singer, you don't have people harmonizing every melody that you sing. So you want to give your melody lines some kind of importance so they don't necessarily have harmonies to it. That being said, over the course of a song, you might need harmonies to bolster up little parts here and there. Like octaves are very big in what I do. I would do I might do an octave there, and I might do a third, something like that kind of interval. But usually, like, I try to put the harmonies in kind of a deeper part of the mix where you can just feel them rather than hear them, unless you have a specific harmonized point that's very important. I try not to really do harmonies all the time because then it takes away the importance of the lines that you're playing and you hear the intervals. So if you hear like a doubled line, a harmonized line, you're like subliminally hearing thirds or fifths or fourths or whatever the harmony is, and you're kind of, your focus is taken away from the main melody. Does that make any sense? All right. wow, how did you make those? This is from Patrick. How did you make those lines really sound like a voice? It's really like a human singing. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Even through this very primitive system I'm playing through, and all that. And there's another thing that you can do. I have this pedal that's called a Maxon auto filter that I just turned on right now. It barely adds a little bit of auto filter to it. Also, if you add like a human type of vibrato to the way you play, it also helps. So like if you play like a fast run in between like a bunch of lines, then you just kind of let the thing sing like a human. You stop, maybe shake it a little bit, but sometimes you want to like go crazy. Bend the living crap out of it. That's okay too, but you have to, if you want to be like a human, you realize that a human has a million different ways of shaking a note, and you want to try to emulate those, or try to like, not necessarily copy human, which is good practice, but try to be human with the way your fingers are moving. If you take it really relaxed, then you can sound a little bit more like you're crying and less like you're playing guitar licks, you know what I mean? Not doing nothing here. So a lot of that has to do with really listening close to your vibrato and paying attention to pitch and controlling simple notes. It's kind of a big thing with in my playing and all of my music. You'll hear a lot of that, you know. I'll stop. So like when you come out of like a phrase and you start singing with those long tones, that's what people really hear. I mean, the fast stuff is nice to have, and it's important in certain parts of what you're doing if you use it very effectively. But when you start singing with your notes, that's when when you stop and you hit a note, that's when people are listening. You know, maybe guitar players are listening to what's going on in between, but they like to catch normal people's ears. Most of the time they're listening to the singer and not the guitar. So if you can allow your guitar to sing, then you have a better chance of people listening. A great example of a guy who does that very, very well is a guy, Brian May. I mean, everything he does is really beautifully crafted to keep you into the song, even though it's a guitar solo. It's very common for people to tune out during the guitar solos of a song. And that is partially what's responsible for the lack of guitar solos in many hit songs of late. If you want people who are not guitarists or not heavy metal fans to listen to a guitar solo, you kind of got to make it count a little bit, and it can't just be impressive to other guitar players. And this is something that is a concept that needs to be addressed. All right, so let's get to another question. Marty, I notice you barely look at the guitar while playing. Is this something you practice on purpose? It's not something I practice on purpose. It's just something that happens. And I should probably look at it a little bit more because I would play a lot more accurately. But I like to try to feel what I'm doing. And occasionally I will not be playing as accurate as humanly possible. And sometimes in the studio I look more than I probably just did. But it's just a habit, and I really don't like to watch guys look at their guitar very much. However, I will definitely take a glance at the guitar if there's something that needs to be addressed. You've spoken in the past about, this is from Gnomian. Hi, Gnomian. You've spoken in the past about using outside notes out of the scale, but how do you know the limit of how many notes to play so that it doesn't clash? What's wrong with clashing? That's the point of playing outside notes. That's the point of everything, really. The more you clash, the better you're going to stand out a little bit. And by clashing and by playing outside notes, it doesn't mean totally forgetting everything and just playing random crap. But for example, let me pick out something that might give you an idea. For example, this is like a little phrase I just come up with. So if you're doing something like this, say we're in D here. So you see how I ended that in a very traditional, normal manner? That's normal, but this beginning part is a little bit, I guess you would say, clashy if you're playing in a blues context. So how I'm clashing, I just randomly played that stuff, but if you want to clash a little bit, here's this. That's your main thing, but what would be the worst note you could play here? Maybe this. A flat second. See what I'm doing there? I maybe played a little bit fast to understand what's going on, but I basically took something that was pretty normal, and instead of phrasing that on the note, I bent up to it from a note that was pretty clashy. So it's really like a matter of taking normal. This position doesn't look very alien, does it? It's a very normal position that everybody plays, but within that position, there's a million things you could do. Still thinking this, but you might go. It's all in there. So and to get to your question, how I assume by what you meant by how you don't want something to clash is just to sound wrong. You got to use your ears for that, because you're the one who decides whether it's wrong or right. I mean, you're the one who decides. So if you're playing this normal D blues here, why not? So you're the one who decides what the notes are that clash. And so going outside is really not that big of a deal. You just use a note that's not there. See what I'm saying here? Like if you're here doing this normal blues, throw in that sometime, you know what I'm saying? You know, the trick, it's not really a trick, but the concept behind that is you know what it's going to sound like when you throw those clashing notes in there. If you know what they sound like, you can throw them in with confidence. If you don't, it just sounds like you're making a mistake, and that's what I think you probably want to avoid. Although sometimes mistakes are way better than the intended thing. But hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'm not the greatest in explaining these things, but hopefully that makes a little sense to you. Marty, this is from RJ. From RJ. Thanks, RJ. Marty, I've been intrigued by your picking hand position. What's the story behind that and your picking technique? Okay, I have been asked this question a few times, and it's this thing, right? It's this thing. My hand is like this. So it's not too far of a stretch to realize that I got this from when I was like 13 years old, and I was discovering things that 13-year-olds discover. And I just did it so much that my hand got stuck in this position, even while I'm playing guitar. So that's pretty much the story behind that. That usually gets a laugh, but I guess we're in a weird context here. I can't see you, but that's really probably the truth. But the actual reason is I have no idea. It's just something that happened when I was just started. No one told me it was wrong. No one told me it was right. I don't really believe there's a right and wrong way to do anything, as long as you get the music that's in here and in here out to people who can hear it. There is absolutely no wrong way or right way to do that. So this picking thing, it looks so funny that people always pick up on it, but it's really not a very important part of my music at all. It's just there, and I think it looks pretty lame, and sometimes I don't okay pictures because my right hand looks so goofy. But thanks for the question. Okay, this one is from Roman. Is a good improvisation achieved with practice, or is it the product of a very good ear? Both. I mean, there's nothing that practice won't help. Practice will help every single thing you're doing. And a very good ear, what is a very good ear? You know, the more you play music, hopefully your ear gets better. The more you do anything, you should be getting better at it, not worse, correct? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's music or, I'm thinking in Japanese, architecture. It doesn't matter. The more you do anything, you should get better at it. So improvising means improvising. It doesn't mean necessarily playing over some backing track that someone else made. You have to improvise, and you have to feel the whole thing that you want to say and try to make that happen just in real time without thinking it over too much. And it takes a lot of doing. And it's something I wish people did more nowadays. When I was a kid, people used to jam and get together with musicians very organically and playing in the same room and improvising just for hours and hours and hours and hours. Now I think people are doing that in a very intelligent way, but I just don't think they're doing it nearly as much as when I was starting out playing guitar. Everyone was just doing these jams, and if you get into a jam with a bunch of really serious players, you got to up your game, and it's in real time and you're playing in front of people. And so that's really something that I would like to see more of. So as soon as this social distancing business clears up, net jams are great and it's really cool and it's the wave of the future, but if you want to be an improviser, and a real improviser, you got to get in the room with people and sweat. It's just, there's no other way around it. Okay. Let's see. There's so many questions here. I hope I'm not missing your questions. Let's see. Marty, when you... Okay, here's one that will help you. This is from Alfredo Pineda. Thank you very much. Marty, when you create a song, how do you know which parts should be fast as hell and which parts should be slow? If it were only that simple, I would be in such an easier position of making music. I don't know about other people, but rarely ever think in terms of fast or slow. I'm always thinking in terms of melodies and motifs and building up. Sometimes when you build up to something, you can play something that's only a little bit fast and it sounds super fast. And people are like, oh, wow, what did you do? And you break it down and it ain't that bad. It ain't that fast. And the reason for that is because it's at a point of excitement. You know, what I hear a lot when I get CDs and demos from people, guitarists, they're playing fast all the time. They're playing fast from the beginning. They're just playing high notes from the beginning. There's nowhere to go. If I hear a high note in the first 30 seconds of a song, I'm out. I'm gone. My attention span is gone. So what I concentrate on rather than fast and slow is trying to build a great piece of music. And if like there's a point in that song where something fast could be utilized in a nice way, effective way, that's when I would put the fast things in. But for the most part, people's ears can't pick up fast stuff all the time, and it just doesn't sound professional or big time to play fast too much. If you play fast when there's a point where fast playing can be really exciting, then you're gold. That's great. And this is a point that I should really reiterate to a lot of you who are guitarists out there is I especially notice this when I get a lot of demos and CDs and stuff. Like I said before, they're playing fast right out the gate. They're playing high notes right out the gate. And more importantly, what they're creating as their music in the back is borderline meaningless. It just sounds like they've been practicing with a metronome and get really, really accurate, and maybe even playing some interesting lines and very cool fast phrases. But the back music is such a non-thing. You know, sometimes it just sounds like telephone hold music. You know, please stand by. Your operator will be with you in a few minutes type of thing. And they're just blazing over it. And they're just blazing perfectly in time and in tune, and the back is absolutely so meaningless that it really kind of makes you wonder what this guy wants to say with his music. Does he want to say, okay, I've been sitting in front of a metronome every single day for 10 hours for the last year? Because that's the only thing that comes out of that to me. I don't hear a song, I don't hear a melody, I don't get any feels. I see a guy who's maybe got some accurate chops, but accuracy is not something that any fans of music, other than maybe people attempting to play that music, care about, really. Accuracy is very important, but if you look at the biggest guitar heroes in the world, the ones with hit songs, accuracy is not the top of why they're so loved. The reason is because they're playing things in a way that people can be touched by and feel some kind of emotion. And of course, accuracy is absolutely important and very, very necessary. But if that's all you're showing me on your demo tape, it's really not coming to the potential of where you should be aiming for as an artist and as a musician. So an example that I like to say is it's like a picture frame. You know what I'm saying? If you have a picture frame that you got at Walmart and you compare that to a picture frame that would be at the Louvre Museum in Paris, that's what people see. So if you have a Walmart frame and you're playing all this insane guitar stuff in the middle of it, it's still a Walmart frame. But if you go to the Louvre in Paris and you see these wonderful picture frames, even what's in the middle of it could be crap, but the whole thing looks great. So what does this mean? This means that you really have to pay attention to the way that you present your guitar playing or your music. You pay attention to what's around the music, and it has to be stuff that builds up what you're trying to say on your instrument. And I can't stress this enough. And if you take this advice to heart, it's really going to be one of those things that is like a light bulb moment, in your creation of music and your chances for being real in the music business. I mean, if you want to go into the music business, it's really not about guitar licks. It's not about guitar phrases. It's not about guitar solos. It's not about heaviness. It's about hits and only hits. Of course, the world of guitar is a whole different thing because people are working on their craft and they're working on mechanics of the instrument, and that's all good. But when you kind of go into the real world, you just got to know that no one gives a friggin' crap about how well you play when it comes to releasing your music to the public and somebody putting money into that. Now, without ruffling too many feathers, I will tell you this. You must play relatively well to get a good gig in a good band or play with a good artist. You have to play very well. You have to play accurately, but more importantly, you have to play to fit the whole world of that music. And that's not something that you can practice with a metronome. So I know a lot of people in these type of things, they really want to learn the next thing about their mechanics. How do they get better at mechanics? And there's a million great guys to teach you about that. And they're in this guitar.com thing. They can give you great advice on that. But I would like to just give you something that I feel that is more important to me. And that's kind of always looking at the big picture, And so that's probably enough on that topic. So let me go to another question. From Mrs. Smith. If you are that Mrs. Smith that dresses like a girl, I think you're so cool. Like I just said in the last question, it's more than just the mechanical parts of playing guitar. This Mrs. Smith that I saw something, you were doing like some kind of comedy, kind of like a Broadway-ish type of routine, and you played guitar, and it was just such a refreshing to see. The word in Japanese is plus alpha. I don't know if that means anything in English, but it's kind of like gimmick, but like it's real. I mean, you can't just randomly come up with that. I mean, it takes a lot of work to have something creative to add to just playing guitar. So I applaud a lot of people who take an unusual approach to making themselves stand out, because I'm here to tell you, guitar is just not enough. I mean, you have to have first, the most important thing, at least to me, is to try to create music that touches people. Whether people buy it, whether people like it or not, that's not as important as whether I think it's exactly what I'm trying to say. That's my goal. But I have a lot of respect for people who play well, but also offer something else, like Mrs. Smith and like, say, a band like Slipknot or Kiss or lots of these different bands. Too many to list, that have so many other facets to enjoy. So I have a lot of respect for those type of people. But if you're just some other random Mrs. Smith, you can completely disregard that, and I'll get to your question. How do you train yourself to play in the pocket? You can't train yourself to do it, but you have to just keep playing music all the time. And everyone's pocket is completely different. There's not one in the pocket. There's your in the pocket, there's his in the pocket, there's her in the pocket. My in the pocket is completely different from, say, the next guy's in the pocket. I just like to sink in things the way I like to sink into them. And that comes from many, many years of playing in so many different musical situations, that the more musical situations you put yourself into, the more you become like, you get like your own pocket. Of course, there's mechanical ways to be just a better pocket player, and there's tons of guys who can answer that better than I can. But my answer is to play as much music as you can and play your own music as much as you can. And you will hopefully know, I'm rushing, I'm dragging, I'm not sinking in there, it doesn't sound good. And guitarists are the worst, myself included, as far as rushing things. A good bass player drags, most guitar players rush. I find myself rushing in the studio often, and I have to really hold it back. But the most important thing is your ears get trained to know when you are rushing or when you are dragging, and whether or not you like it or not. Sometimes it feels good to rush and it sounds good to rush. Most of the times it just sounds amateur to me anyway. So that's my answer about pocket playing. You said we could put in weird questions, so here's one. Ha ha ha. Oh, okay. There's no question. Is that what's weird about it? Okay, let me see this. Kuroi phrase. I guess I'll answer this. He's writing in Japanese. It says, "Kuroi lace no sutagi wa suki desu ka?" Do I like black lace panties? Now this is a topic that we could spend an hour talking about, but that'll be for a different podcast or whatever you call it. Who doesn't? That's a good question. This is from Troy Hall. You and Jason always played with such soul and feeling. Is there anything interesting about when you recorded with Jason on Perpetual Burn? I saw that you are on a song or two. Okay. Any of you who may not know Jason Becker, go immediately and search him and find out what a genius and what a wonderful guy and inspirational human being he is, as well as like one of the sickest musicians in the world, most insane sense up there, and just keeps growing as a composer and a genius and a wonderful guy. We played... when we did solo albums together, I did a record called Dragon's Kiss. He did Perpetual Burn, and we were both there to help each other. And, when we were in Cacophony together, we both had different specialties, so to speak. And I was much more of an improviser, and he was much more of a planned out and very, very clean and very accurate player at that time. At that time, his melody sense was still amazing, but after that is when he grew into this fantastic composer. So at that time, if he had a section that he was improvising, often he wouldn't really be confident about the beginning or the ending or a part in it. And those are the type of things that I could just come and bang one out. I could, help him out with an ending of a phrase, or this middle section needs to do this and that, and then I would go in and play it. And I wouldn't necessarily take credit for it. but he did the same thing for me. I mean, some of the stuff that I was trying to do needed to be played really super accurately and needed to be played really difficult stuff at the time. It was quite difficult. And sometimes I could play it, but it would take like, a while. It might take 5 or 6 takes to get a good solid take out of it. And he could just do it in one take. So like we were on a budget and on time restraints. So I would have him come in and play a part for me. And, we would help each other that way. And he would play some of the things, especially like if a rhythm part needed to be super tight and accurate, I would have him come in. And sometimes just things that the other guy didn't do as well as the other guy, we would just come in there and let each other do it. And I think most bands do that anyway, but our specialties were really quite different. And he was he was the type of guy that you just put anything in front of him and he can just do it nicely. And I'm the type of guy who you can put into any situation and I'll come up with something, a theme, a motif, but I'm not going to necessarily, now it's different. Now I can do whatever I want. But at the time, sometimes I would think of things that are way past what I was able to really perform immediately right away. So we both kind of helped each other with that a lot, and on both of those records. And here's another one from Mauricio Martinez. How you doing, Mauricio? Have you ever thought about singing? If I could sing, do you think I'd be playing this goddamn thing? Kind of halfway kidding, half not. I think we all want to sing, those of us playing music, we want to show our emotions to people, the emotions that only we have, that different from this guy next door's emotion, different from this lady's emotion. Everything is personal. So as an artist, we try to make music that gives you exactly what's inside, and what purer way to do that than singing. But unfortunately, I'm a crap singer. I have a very limited range. In that range, I'm pretty good. If you listen to my live album, I sing Hound Dog on that thing, and it's right in my range, and I'm killing it. I sound like a really good singer. But you have to understand that song has a 1.5 range. There's really nothing to it. So, I don't have a range, and I have a very bad throat for singing, and I just shout at the top of my lungs. So I put all of that energy in trying to sing on my instrument and trying to create musical scenarios that allow me to sing. I mean, if you listen to the 2 songs that I just played, I'm pretty much just singing. I'm just singing through my guitar. This one is from Heath Vineyard. Thanks for the question. Any plans for different colors for your MF1 guitar? Yes. Maybe you've seen some photos of my purple cracked mirror MF1 guitar. I think that's either out now or it's coming out soon. It was supposed to come out a while ago, but as you all know, a lot of things happen in that have created delays in everything. But that guitar looks absolutely jaw-dropping amazing. And this one, the MF1, has been out for a while, and thanks to you guys, has been doing so incredibly well, as are these Marty Friedman pickups from EMG. Really, really cool pickups. I mean, I'm playing through absolute nothing type of rig, and you can just hear. There's a real, you can hear every note that you can hear the emotion behind it, They just sustain forever, but they don't have that digital crushed sound. There's no battery in it. Just love them. So, thanks to you guys, they're doing really well, but I can't tell you how happy with the product that I am with the guitars and the pickups and the amps and all that stuff. All right, serious question from Nightmare XAWL. You have an amazing jawline. How do you keep so healthy and lean to maintain that godly jawline? Jawline is this thing. I really don't know how to answer that, but thank you. People tend to exaggerate this part of my face if they draw a picture. I really don't know what to tell you. Just stay away from drugs, stay away from drinking too much, stay away from smoking. Oh my God, that's probably the one right there. It's different now, cigarettes now and cigarettes back in the ancient days, I think there's an algorithm in tobacco to make people more addicted to it faster. I think in the old days, it was maybe just tobacco, but now, companies are too smart, and, it's really not a good thing to get hooked into that. But I'm not here to preach about anything. I smoked in my days. I did everything legal or illegal, so I'm in no position to preach. But as far as being healthy, those are the things. Just avoid any kind of bad chemicals into your body, and be reasonably healthy, and that's the way to go. All right. How do you know what key and scale type to play on guitar? This is a question not for me. This is a question for a guitar teacher. My answer would be you just know, and that's a crappy answer. But a guitar teacher, their job is to explain that properly to you, so you'll get a good answer from a proper teacher. From Gabby F. Marty, do you play any other instruments? No. And I'm a crappy bass player. You should hear my scratch bass parts when I make an album. I always do demos and I play the bass. And then I send them to Kiyoshi, who plays bass. You might have seen her live with me. I kind of have a very rough idea of what she's going to do with my bass parts, so I just play. And just because you can play guitar does not mean you can play bass. It's like a specialist, a foot doctor or an eye doctor, a dentist. A real bass player is just a wonderful thing. Okay. From Yo Skejo, your rhythm playing sounds very powerful. Is that the way your guitars are tracked? Is it the Ramones influence? Okay. And this is another, I can answer this by answering another question somebody sent to my homepage. Tracking guitars, they sound powerful. One thing, you're right, the Ramones thing, when I first started playing guitar, the first thing I did, wait, I got my box on here. I hit the strings really, 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 really hard. So that definitely came from starting off with the Ramones. That was my first entrance to playing any kind of rhythm. But obviously, when you make a million albums, then you start to do more experimentation with 7-string guitars. Almost all of my rhythms are done on a 7-string guitar, just because they give you just one more option to be heavier. I find that when you go into 8 and 9-string guitars, you really have to have a piece of music that warrants that 8th and 9th string. And I've yet to find myself in a position where I've I need one more string to do what I need to do. I've tuned down to drop A or drop A flat, but I've never, wanted to. Who knows? Maybe next time. But the other part of the question is, with tracking guitars, a lot of people think that you need to layer up a lot of guitars thickly. 3, 4, 5 tracks, 1 left and right, 2 left and right, 1 in the middle. The answer to that is you've got to track to the part of the song. Nothing bothers me worse than having to solo over 2 rhythm guitars, L and R, and another rhythm guitar in the middle. And then you have to solo with a distorted guitar over that. There's just no way any of the nuances of your guitar playing are going to stand out if you're playing a solo over that stuff. So I find, for example, if you've got a vocal part, if you have a great sounding guitar, you do an LR, and that's usually great. But you can also add something in the middle, and this something in the middle is not necessarily one more good sounding guitar. It could be one super shitty sounding guitar. just like a really lo-fi, crappy, the worst sound you could get, if you put that in between two good sounding LR guitars, you will be surprised what magic you get. The reason for that is when you have a good sounding guitar, it has all these frequencies that make up a good sounding guitar and none of the bad frequencies. So if you have a really crap sounding sound, like it could be done with a plug-in or just a cheap amp or just a cheap multi-effects or something, anything really bad sounding, those frequencies, plus if you add those to good sounding frequencies, it gives you all the frequencies that you can take at once, and it just becomes this massive wall of greatness. So try that next time. But like when I'm playing a solo, sometimes I'll take the left rhythm guitar out, and just so it sounds like a band. You know, you've got the rhythm guitar on the right, and you've got the lead guitar in the middle. So that way you can hear the nuances of my playing, and my playing is kind of all about nuances. So I like to give you the most of those when I'm playing. But I think it's time to wrap this up, unfortunately. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here. I'm going to get to one last final question, if there's a good one here in my mind. Okay. Do you have any advice for an up-and-coming solo artist starting from scratch? Thanks for all the great music. Okay. My advice to you is don't limit yourself to being a solo artist. It's the hardest thing in the world. And unless you're a great singer, it's going to be a long road for you. But it's great if that's what you want to do, and you vision the end result of what you want to do, go for it. But if you have a chance to get into a band that you love, or a band that you even like, the experience is going to be great for you. So don't say, well, I'm a solo artist, and at the end, because it's very, very lonely too. So that's why I keep my solo work in a band context. I tour the world with my band. I even play with other bands. I'm open to playing in a band, any band situation, if I think it's doing exciting music. So who knows what I'll do next, you know? But for you, if solo music is what you want to do, just keep creating music until it's something you love. But don't limit yourself to, I got to be by myself, because even if you're a success, it's lonely. You know, I want somebody to celebrate with, you know what I'm saying? So I might as well give you a little bit of updates of what I'm doing. I have a new album coming out. It's coming out in Japan earlier than the rest of the world. It's called Tokyo Jukebox 3. It's all of some of my favorite Japanese songs done in my own totally sick and perverted way. The song I played, Gurenge, is from that. It's coming out in the rest of the world afterwards, and it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to have some bonus tracks, and it's going to have some really special versions. And so there's going to be two versions, but the first version will come out in Japan October 21st. And a video we shot last week, and we're editing it now. It's going to be just something really cool. And we're going to do a streaming live concert. I urge you to check that out because it's going to be just off the charts. So what else can I tell you about that? I just hope everybody stays healthy and safe, and a little common sense goes a long way. Stay away from the news, stay away from, any kind of negativity, and use this opportunity to play as much music as you can, learn as much as you possibly can from this guitar.com thing. This is really a huge undertaking that they're doing. And I'm very, very pleased and honored that they asked me to be a part of it. I respect them for doing something very positive in a time that's very hard, and see that everyone else out there appreciates that and gets something out of it. So I hope you got something out of this. And thank you so much. Lots of love from Tokyo. Be safe. Play lots of music. And hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.